You're sitting in front of the screen right now, and you don't know. You don't know because no one ever told you. But today, in this video, we're going to trace the trail of a language that is said to have existed in history. One that survives today only on certain seals. A language that was never spoken, never written, never even reduced to sound. The silent language of the Tartaria Guardians. And by the time you reach the end of this video, you will never be able to look at those seals the same way again. Let's begin. For centuries, people noticed that the symbols on certain ancient seals didn't match any known alphabet or writing system. Linguists examined these symbols. Archaeologists followed these trails, but no one could fully explain what they were. Some symbols looked almost geometric, almost mathematical, yet at the same time organic, as if they hadn't been drawn by a human hand, but by a different kind of intelligence. And it's exactly at this point that the Tartaria Guardians enter the picture. Tartaria is an ancient civilization said to have covered much of today's Eurasian geography, yet allegedly erased in a systematic way from modern historiography. The theory that this civilization, known as Great Tartaria, was governed and protected not by ordinary people but by a special class of beings of enormous size, has been gaining increasing traction in recent years among researchers and independent history enthusiasts. They are called the Tartaria Guardians, and it is claimed that these guardians did not use language in the way we understand it. Let's see if that's true. Think for a moment. Picture in your mind a being twice your size, maybe 3 times. A consciousness that learned sound was a limited tool, and chose instead to communicate through vibration, frequency, and direct interaction with matter. We humans transmit sound waves as vibrations through air. But what about them? According to researcher findings, they communicated through the stone itself. Isn't that strange? This might sound like a metaphor, but it isn't. Reports emerging from the examination of certain structures believed to be of Tartarian origin suggest that some stone surfaces exhibit an unusual property, vibration. Like the pulse of living skin, the stone would expand and contract at microscopic scale at regular intervals, as if something inside it was breathing. This is called stone pulses like living skin. Researchers argue these vibrations are not random, but follow a specific mathematical order, a frequency-based communication system. And the alphabet of this system is hidden in those very seals. Seals, small objects made of stone or metal engraved with symbols, historically used for authentication, pressed into a document, wax, or clay to say, "This comes from me." But the seals allegedly belonging to the Tartaria Guardians served a very different function. The symbols on these seals carried not an identity, but a command. A packet of information encoded to be transmitted to stone, to matter, perhaps to the surrounding energy field. In a sense, like today's QR codes. But far deeper, far older, far more different, and far more dangerous. Dangerous because someone who understood this language could control matter. At least that's the theory. And those who take this theory seriously aren't just enthusiasts in internet corners. Remember accounts in ancient texts thousands of years old of craftsmen who used sound to cut stone. Think of healers who treated illness through sound frequencies. Picture the structure said to have been built with megalithic stones lifted by sonic vibration. Perhaps this knowledge is an even smaller fragment than the crumbs that have reached us. Perhaps the real knowledge was deliberately destroyed in the early 1800s and before. And that's where the big question arrives. Why 1800? If you've been following this topic, you've heard of the Great Reset theory. The idea that a global reset took place in the early 1800s, that a new history was constructed on top of existing civilization. According to this theory, the questions about why giants disappeared after 1800 are not coincidental. The Tartaria Guardians were the final link targeted by this reset. And with them, their language was destroyed too. Or at least, they tried to destroy it. Think about pre-1800 libraries being set on fire. Imagine monastery archives accidentally burning to ash. Not just in Europe, in Asia, the Americas, the Middle East, all across the world, independent fires occurring in the same era. This, they say, is the dark reason why pre-1800 books are so rare. And the written traces of this silent language were precisely what those fires were targeting. Because someone who understood this language could understand everything, could do everything. But one thing escaped those fires: the seals. Because of their small size, because they were seen as worthless objects, because they passed through collectors' hands unnoticed, the seals survived. Today, some are in museum storage rooms, some in private collections, some surfacing at online auctions. The symbols on them remain undeciphered. Official archaeology either doesn't know what these symbols are, or doesn't want to know. That's very strange. What about the people who learned this language? Or those who tried to? Throughout history, it is known that certain witnesses, certain researchers, suddenly disappeared. They are said to have been silenced. And one of the most sophisticated tools of this silencing operation was the mental asylum. Think about the explosion of asylum construction across Europe beginning in the early 1800s. Thousands of people vanished behind closed walls, out of society's sight. Were some of them truly ill? Or did some of them simply know too much? The silent language is silent for exactly this reason, because those who knew it were silenced too. The guardians are gone, their language is gone, those who communicated with them are gone. All that remains are the stones, and the marks on those stones. But pay attention now, because beneath our cities, beneath the paving stones, inside foundation walls, in the basements of unrestored buildings, behind windows no one has opened for decades, something is there. Anomalies. Unexplained features. Just like windows buried beneath the pavement in the middle of a city, kept away from daylight. Why were these windows hidden? Who hid them? Why was there a need to hide them? And more importantly, what was lost in the process of this concealment? The symbols on the seals may carry the answers to these questions. They are not merely the remnants of a language, they are also evidence. The last pieces of evidence that could not be destroyed. Because burning stone is difficult. You can melt stone, but you cannot fully erase the frequency trace, the vibrational encoding embedded in it. Those traces are still there, still waiting to be found, to be discovered. And this is where the real issue knots together. The silent language of the Tartaria Guardians is not a nostalgic memory of a lost civilization. This language is a key that could fundamentally change how we perceive matter, energy, perhaps even time and space. And the last copies of this key are still waiting, engraved in symbols on seals that exist to this day. Right now, as you watch this video, in a museum storage room, in a collector's drawer, perhaps on the shelf of an antique shop, these symbols are vibrating silently, trying to tell something. No one is listening, or no one is being allowed to listen, until you decide to listen. And the truth, as it always has been, is closer than you think, waiting to be found.